Hello, Oklahoma City. You're listening to Lost Ogle. You're listening to Lost Ogle Show, episode 35, presented by Patricia's. Tonight's episode, the Lost Ogles, Patrick and Randy, welcome ESPN's OKC pandemic correspondent, Royce and Rob Young. What? Oh, we're gonna talk thunder, pandemics, and whiskey. Produced on Lost Ogles, Bricktown Media Studios by Randy Mile High Mitchell. I'm Bricktown Rob, and you're listening to the Lost Ogle Show.
Man, that Bricktown Rob, he's not sounding too good, is he, Royce?
He didn't sound great.
not good at all. Welcome to Lost Ogle Show, man. How's it going?
Hey, good to be back.
This is your second time. You're a two-timer.
How many two-time guests have you had?
You are our second two-time guest.
Wow.
That first honor belongs to Ryan Kiesel.
Okay.
Because he was with the ACLU, so we had to talk.
This is like Saturday Night Live. Do I get a jacket?
5. You get the golden jacket at 5. Because we're going to get to that point someday.
Right. Are you going to have enough shows,
dude?
Do I need to guest on the next 3 shows?
Friendly reminder: like Al Eschbach, Jim Traber, and Dean Blevins have been doing their thing for what 20 years now. So I think we can make it.
Wait,
you
2. As if you needed to remind people how long that Jim Traber's been doing radio in Oklahoma.
Since back when I started, though, I just wasn't good, but I got so much better.
So hey, Marisa couldn't make it tonight because I don't know if you know about this, but there's a global pandemic going on, and everyone's supposed to have do safe social distancing like we are. How many meters apart are we right now?
I don't know how many meters, but it seems like about
this is
6 feet, 6 to 8.
This is 6 foot table, and we're on opposite ends of the table. And Randy, you're a little bit close. You're about 6 feet from Randy. I'm about 8 feet from Randy. We don't look as awkward as like the TV news people trying to do it,
right?
Which when it's over with, that they just probably go back and share microphones and do all that stuff. But yeah, we have safe distance.
Yeah, we're adhering to the guidelines.
Yeah, but if Marisa was here, we wouldn't. Marisa would just get spit on and breathe upon.
And I spit all the time when I talk. I just spit everywhere.
Are you a spitter?
No,
no.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if do they teach you that at ESPN? Like, do you have to go to classes or training?
Don't spit is like number 1.
Do they have like career enhancement? Like if you have a regular corporate job, you can enroll in an Excel class, or can you get lift control or stuff like that?
No, they don't do that necessarily, but they will go over your live hits with you. When you go to Bristol or Los Angeles or something, they'll have somebody smarter than you sit down and say, okay, here's what you need to do a little bit. They'll watch your clips with you or whatever.
Has anyone complained about your books? Do you still have the bookshelf?
No, you haven't watched a whole lot of me on SportsCenter in the last
especially
2 years. I have like a studio now with like a backdrop, like a SportsCenter backdrop.
You would think having a kid, you would I got so much more time now to watch sport, but it's actually the opposite. Like you would think, that's a little baby. Like it doesn't work that way.
I liked the book look because I got to shout out some people that I liked, but now I've got just a
so you have your own fancy. Backdrop. Wow, that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's play this conversation with Marisa. She did have a question. That's going to be our first official question to you in there.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Marisa, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Patrick. How are you?
This is great. This is awesome. This is our first time to do this kind of remotely or whatever. I feel like we're on radio.
Yeah. I mean, this is how Rick and Brad do it, right?
Yeah, I think they record out of Phoenix or whatever. Kind of like Dusty Dvorak used to until he moved back, I think. I don't know. So how are you surviving the pandemic?
Well, it's not too good down here in Norman, Patrick. I have eaten all of the good food in my house, and now all that's left are healthy things.
Did you buy a lot of frozen vegetables too?
Yeah, and canned goods, because I was like, ooh, shelf-stable proteins. Yay for peas and beans.
I have enough frozen stir-fry to last me at least 2 weeks of this pandemic, probably.
Could you open up your own, stir-fry chain, kind of like a Mongolian barbecue sort of joint?
I think in about a year, there's going to be a lot of toilet paper stands and Mongolian barbecue and green bean casseroles. That's going to be the hit of Thanksgiving 2020. Everyone's going to have green bean casserole. Are you and Chris, are you stocked up on toilet paper and all that stuff?
We are, but I mean, not like an absurd amount of toilet paper. when I went to the store last Thursday, there were plenty still on the shelves, and I just got enough to last us for probably a month because I assumed that that's kind of how long people should shelter in place, so to speak.
Good luck with that. Did you get the good stuff or the like middle tier? Like what type? Not to get too personal here, but what type toilet paper did you go for?
I mean, it's definitely like a quilted 2-ply, but it is not name brand because I just feel like you don't need to engage in conspicuous consumption when it's going to touch your butt, you know?
Yeah, good old members mark is what I'm feeling there. So how's this? You're a freelancer now, so this really isn't affecting any job to a degree. Right? I mean, are you just counting on the $1,000 to come from the government, or what are your plans for all that?
I mean, I don't know. So like most of my freelance stuff has kind of dried up. So that's kind of fun. As everybody's like, everything's kind of just shut down all of a sudden, which is good, for health reasons. If that $1,000 from the government does come, I wonder if I will be, able to partake in that, because I'm sure there's going to be some sort of caveat, like you must prove employment or whatever.
Yeah, right. I didn't think about that. Damn it. We're going to be so screwed.
We really are.
Oh, man. So like, what are you doing to kill time during the pandemic?
So since Monday, I have formatted and uploaded 2 books to Amazon, and I'm just waiting on Amazon to approve them. I recorded a video today and edited it and uploaded it, and I've just been working the whole time, really.
That's impressive. Kind of like, so really nothing's changed during the day, except when you go out, you kind of feel like you're going to get a deadly disease.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think I'm way more productive now. And I think it's just because, like, nobody's texting me, because people would text me and be like, hey, you want to go grab coffee or you want to go out to dinner? And now, like, nobody wants to hang out. So it's just me and my dog. She wants to hang out a lot. So that's cool.
Yeah. Dogs can't get it. So we're good there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this pandemic is just at a really, for me personally, of all the years of my life, this would literally be the worst one ever for a pandemic. Do you get that feeling, like, why now? Or would there have been a better time for you to deal with the pandemic?
I don't know. I tend to try to believe that everything happens when it has to happen. Also, like, I think in The Matrix 2, at one point, Morpheus says what happened because it couldn't happen any other way. And it's just really comforting to think that maybe Lawrence Fishburne would whisper that in my ear.
That is comforting. It is comforting. That's kind of probably a good note to wrap things up, Marisa. So Royce Young is going to be our guest tonight, and Royce can't hear you right now.
Mm-hmm.
What question do you want me to ask him?
Okay. So if this pandemic does turn into like a Hunger Games sort of battle royale scenario, what basketball team does he think would survive post-apocalypse better than any other team?
That's a very detailed question.
It really is. So, like, if it becomes a Mad Max scenario, which team is going to be the Charlize Theron?
Marisa, this is such a great idea. I expect to see this on ESPN.com, like, within the next 10 days. Things I think, we'll talk about this, but I think there's going to be a desert, and it's going to be like a throwback to the blog era, where everyone's populating it with just kind of,
nonsense,
fun, lighthearted listicles. So that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to see it in writing. Somebody like a big monolithic corporation like Disney stealing your idea. It's kind of cool.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. And by the way, we are practicing safe social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
No more kisses, just hugs. So all that good stuff. So everyone complaining, we're doing things the right way. Thanks again. I guess I'll see you sometime soon. Are we going to connect again? Like, is this going to happen? Like, should we plan for a podcast next week and maybe try to get the technical details nailed down?
I think so.
As opposed to 6:30.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is fun.
Yeah. Let's see if the world still exists a week from now.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with everything. Hey, if you get a call from me and I maybe need some like black beans or like, lentils, all the food, we can trade some food. We can barter.
Yeah. I'm selling my
pizza,
cans of chickpeas for $4 a piece. So, let me know. Mm-hmm.
I'll trade you 2 Red Baron and 1 bag of stir fry for, I don't know, this will be like a fantasy trade. That's what I have to offer. Give me your best offer back.
Man.
Well, not right now. Just think about it. Sorry.
Because I just have like
in person,
canned
you would have
peas.
realized
It's
that
real
was
sad at my house right now.
canned peas. Okay. Well, all right. Well, hey, tell your boyfriend Chris hello for us, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon at my funeral.
Well, it's good to talk to you before you died, Patrick.
All right. Bye, Marisa. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, so you heard Marissa's question. What do you think? What team is most likely to go Mad Max and survive the pandemic apocalypse?
I love to think about this question in terms of like mascots first. A lot you can look at it like with the players, right? Like you can like pick your favorite team based on like what players that of course Steven Adams is somebody that comes to mind first and foremost for everybody.
Yeah.
So he would give the Thunder a leg up, but like I think about it in terms of like which team is like team mascot is like the one most equipped for it.
Are you about to go Mike Leach on us and like break down every mascot in the
I've
NBA?
had this discussion with some fellow writers and friends of mine, Brett Dawson, Fred Katz, and they make good points that like it's kind of like Wizards versus Magic, isn't it?
Yeah,
Does
depends on
anybody
what
beat
type
that?
of, depends on what type of Magic, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, is it like, Magic like, and now I'm going to like,
But the Thunder don't last long. They're just a sound.
No, wait, Thunder. Yeah, Lakes. No,
No.
Lakes are powerful in a natural.
Bucks,
No.
Suns,
Rocket. I would go Rocket.
Rocket.
Do you think a Wizard can take on a nuclear armed missile?
Let's reframe Marissa's question this way: which team is going out number one? Which team's hearing that like gunshot or whatever it is in Hunger Games first? It's the Rockets, right?
Who's Kevin Durant play for?
That's
Probably. Golden State, man, they're just such a pretty little team.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine, but they would probably get by on their looks for a while. But yeah, Houston.
so.
Well, they have Westbrook though. He's.
I guess Westbrook wouldn't go quietly.
He's like in Game of Thrones where
I was just thinking they had no big people.
Yeah, where he's like, oh, one Mormont can fight for 100 of
Right.
that's Westbrook. One of,
I don't know which team I would pick though to like survive it. I think the Thunder are a good candidate. Chris Paul is like savvy.
who's the dirtiest team? Probably is it the Thunder? They have Chris Paul and Steven Adams.
They would definitely be up there. The dirtiest team in the NBA. It would probably be. I don't know. I don't know who I would pick as the dirtiest team in the NBA. Probably the Clippers. Right?
Oh, really?
Pat Beverly.
They got Beverly on there. And what's their backup? The good 6-man guy. Isn't he kind of a dirty player?
Lou Williams is just a flopper.
Not Lou
Oh,
Williams.
Harold? Montrezl Harrell?
Yeah,
he's a little bit he's physical.
Undersized center. Anyway, well, I can't wait to read about this in
right
in July. Normally, the time when you would
Top
be
10
saying that.
NBA haircuts.
Yeah.
By Royce Young. That's
Yeah, you were talking Chris Paul, and I used to hate him so much. Like I loved him when he was with the Hornets.
Right.
Then I hated him when he was with the Rockets. Or not the Rockets,
Clippers.
the Clippers. When he came to the Rockets, I actually kind of liked him to a degree because he was playing kind of that old school game. And then, Harden kicked him off. And now with Oklahoma City, he got in trouble when he got for being a tattletale.
Right.
When he snitched on the guy. And I'm like, this is the guy that punched a guy in the balls.
Multiple times.
When he played for Wake Forest. I remember that was like everyone didn't like him then because he just in the ACC tournament. I can remember he just punched the dude in his balls or whatever.
I mean,
sure he's going to be he's going to do stuff like that.
It's always funny when people come full circle and they try to convince you. They're like, no, he's different now. He's a lot better than he used to be. It's like, nah, he's still Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like he plays for your team now, and it's okay to admit that. Like there's certain players I think some fans wouldn't come around on because they despise him that much, but like
really, I think we would like.
I think Beverly's like the first one. I think.
I bet if we signed Beverly, he's actually I always admired his physical play. We'd find a way to justify it.
Yeah,
probably
every fan base is that way though.
So let's just jump into. Was it last Wednesday? Was it a week from today?
A week ago, yeah.
Last Wednesday. So one of my buddies, there was a Oklahoma down at the Bricktown Event Center. They were having I think the Restaurant Association was having their annual kind of dinner for the lawmakers and the lobbyists to come to try out, new foods from Oklahoma restaurants. And I stopped by that, just kind of snuck in to get my, free beer and, free brisket and, all that stuff. I was talking to one of my buddies. He's like, hey, I got tickets to the game. We're like, hey, let's walk down. Let's go to it. So we're like, as we're walking down the street, I get a text message from Tony. He's like, oh my God, are you seeing this? And I'm like thinking, who knows, right? With everything going on, like what? And he's like, they just canceled. The players just walked off the court. Nobody knows what's happening. And then for most of Oklahoma, I would say for about 99.999% of Oklahoma City residents, we're kind of, what's going on?
Right.
What's happening?
You were there.
Right. Yeah.
You were there to document the entire thing. Like, where do we jump in? Where do we begin with all this? I guess when Gobert was already kind of showing signs of sickness, right?
Right.
Was there concern in the air? Even like, did people know he was being tested?
No, nobody knew that publicly. So like, I feel like I can replay this story a little more transparently now. So like, about an hour before the game, somebody had texted me and told me, or they had said like, man, I thought the Thunder's game was going to get canceled tonight. And it was somebody that would kind of know those sort of things. And I thought that there was some confusion about why,
right.
like because of like the Warriors were closing games to fans the next night. And so I kind of like, it's one of those things where it kind of like, it makes your spidey sense go off a little bit, but you're
right.
like, okay, what's going on? And then, the immediate thing that they kind of attached to it was like it had something to do with Rudy Gobert. And so in my mind, everybody saw kind of the clip of Gobert touching all the reporters' microphones. And so I was sitting there trying to put something together thinking, I wonder if the NBA wants Gobert to sit out because he had like contaminated himself because all these new media policies were getting put in place. And so that's where I was thinking, like Gobert touching those recorders. I wonder if the league like doesn't want him to play tonight. And so then there was this issue with, so he was listed as questionable. Quinn Snyder definitively said he was out. I mean, like he literally said, "You are out." And then 15 minutes after that, Jazz PR said, no, he misheard the question. He's still questionable for the game. And so like all that in the text that I'd gotten, I was kind of like, man, something weird is going on right here. And so I kind of like went through it like business as usual. There was some weird elements around the arena about, sanitation and things going on. And I'm kind of hyper aware of all these situations. Watched Donovan Mitchell warm up. And I'm thinking like the ball boys are touching the same ball he's touching.
Oh my
like
gosh.
that doesn't seem right to me. You know, how can you sanitize a basketball? But literally the moment I saw Donnie Strack, who's like the Thunder's head doctor, come running off the bench, I was like, oh, you know what? Like,
oh my God.
Like this is, and I looked right at John Reed, who's one of the Thunder's PR guys. And I was like, I knew it. This has something to do with Gobert. Like, something's going down. And, like, a lot of people are like, what's going on? Why are they delaying the game? And I'm like, duh, you idiots. It's the coronavirus. Like, how is nobody realizing this? Like, they wouldn't be delaying a game because it's like, hold on, we just got to get the clock fixed.
Right.
The time's a little off. TV's not synced up. It was like,
you're really going to love this Thunder thing, this Rumble. We want Rumble to entertain you just a
Donnie
little bit
Strack
more.
is not running off the bench to delay the game unless this has something to do with, I don't know, the global pandemic. So as soon as I saw that happening, and then I'm like trying to eavesdrop, read lips. We have such an advantage in Oklahoma City. It's one of.
Were you in
my media
the Royce seats, as I call them, like kind of front and center, like
right there. I mean, and it's one of the few arena. I mean, there's maybe 4 left in the in all of the NBA where you could sit courtside as media, and I'm so thankful that.
It's almost like it's like a good policy. It's like it's a easy way to be good with the media to give them front and row seats.
I'm super biased about it, but like like the storytelling ability that you have and like the way that you're up close and personal to the game, it's so much better than if you're sitting like so many teams boot their media out. But for the Thunder, they've always kind of preserved it. Like that's something they've kind of fought for. They could sell those seats to
you're right.
ticket holders, but they've always felt like there was some level of importance there. So, so I'm like trying to read lips, and they call the coaches over, and I'm like, man, this is like and so in my mind, what I'm thinking is happening at that point is something with Gobert that they probably wanted him tested, and they couldn't start the game until they said he was negative. And so that's what I'm thinking is happening is that they just don't have that result yet. So they're like
just being precautious.
And then I'm like, they're waiting to get that result. Like they're just going to get it any second. They needed to get it, and so in 5 minutes they're just going to delay it, and then we're going to tip off. And so I did not expect it to escalate to the point where then both teams are sent back to their locker rooms. And like I tweeted it, and I was kind of hesitant, but I was like, I think the game just got called because that's what like seemed like happened. And then they announced like we're going to delay the game, just hold in your place. At that point I left my seat and I went back. I hooked up with my camera crew and my producer Pat Abrahams, and we tried to like get by the Jazz locker room. Of course we couldn't. So
was that an ESPN telecast or
no? It
but
wasn't.
They were like ready.
So it was just like a serious, like fortuitous series of events. So I was doing a pregame live shot with Stephen A. Smith Sports Center at 6:00 local, and we have this like it's way too inside baseball that anybody cares about. We have like the ability to do like solo live shots with like an iPhone and connect to our satellite, and basically I do it all by myself.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like and we don't. Right now. You want to fire up the TV? It's called the TVU app, and so the plan was for me to do that, and. Like we try not to do those, but like insert like if a player gets hurt and we don't have a crew there, it's like an ability to get on TV.
Something you can film something Does it have to be live? Or
No,
just,
it can be live.
And then they can also show it like 10 minutes later.
Right.
Yeah,
we do them most of the time live, but like we try to reserve that because it's a little lower quality.
Yeah.
The lighting's not as good. So anyway, the plan was for me to do a live shot for Stephen A. Smith's Sports Center like that, and it just so happened that camera crew and this producer named Pat Abrahams was at OU's Pro Day that day, and they were like, "Hey, they said it's cool with them. They're just going to come over and they're gonna shoot your live shot for you," and because it was kind of known that like A, it was a big game, Thunder Jazz.
Yeah.
B, it was also like the kind of the anxiety building around the NBA. This is the last game with fans. And so it was seriously just super lucky that they were there. If they hadn't been there, that night looks completely different in terms of ESPN's coverage all the way through. So like we ran back to their locker room, tried to get by it, couldn't get by it. So we were in like the kind of like big, huge, like loading dock hallway for a lack of better terms. And so we just posted up there at that point.
Were you concerned at any point during all that? Like, well, I don't want to get too close to the Jazz locker room.
I don't want to, I mean, a lot of people ask me that, like, and I don't want to sound like I'm some, coronavirus tough guy, but like I just wasn't thinking about it. It just didn't occur to me at all. Like that was not important to me at that point. Like it was about like what's going on. And like they basically told me, so like I put like my earpiece in, and typically you hear like the show you're about to go on, so you hear like a Sports Center anchor talking or highlights playing. And when I put my earpiece in, I heard Doris Burke talking. I'm like, I'm hearing the game that they're doing right now. Like that's what I'm hearing. They're like, yeah, you're gonna break into the game, and I was like, oh God, like I was like, so I was not thinking about the coronavirus. I was thinking like, I hope I say my words right.
Wow. And then it just became like once again, from my point of view, we heard that it was being postponed, and everyone like outside, and like really, I mean, we're checking your Twitter, just.
Well, that's the thing. I never tweeted that the game was postponed because like I was back there in that loading dock area, and we're like, I'm texting and calling with people, and they made the announcement in the arena,
or even it was delayed, I guess.
Right.
Like you start getting that in everyone. It's just like
they bring the halftime show out, and it's like I could hear it like the music thumping and stuff. But I was kind of out of the loop right there because like I was back there like waiting, like, are we going on Sports Center? And this is how naive we were when I think back on it, is like where we were at. We were like, this is going to be good. We're going to get like a shot of all the players leaving. Like, this is going to be great. Like, we're going to get like Donovan Mitchell walking out and Chris Paul walking out. Like, this is going to be great. Like, how dumb we were. We did get
you see them walking out in hazmat suits like the bad guys in E.T.
I think our first hit, we might have had Kevin Stitt walking out. He walked out right behind us, either right when we went on or right before we went on.
He was probably going to a popular bar or something to go get some.
He was headed to the Collective right there, right then and there. It's packed.
Yeah, so then I guess, and that's because we stopped and we were like kind of in front of Whiskey Chicks. We went into Whiskey Chicks, and then you're just kind of watching it. You see the game's postponed. You see all the Army, like all the dejected Thunder fans walking. Some were pissed, and then we're just up there, and it's like on cue, everyone's jaws just drop when the news that the season was suspended. Right. What went through your mind from the ESPN reporter perspective, but also from, I mean, you probably had to also have an aha, like, well, I mean, I cover the NBA, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like you had to look at that kind of both ways, right?
I kind of tried to like put those types of thoughts of like, what does this mean for me? Right. I tried to put that aside for
You're so unselfish.
For like 24 hours, like at least like before I really went down that path of like, what does this mean? Even still, I'm kind of in like reporter mode about, because we're trying to report on player testing and like the processes behind teams getting private lab testing ability, so like we're like, we had a conference call today about it, like what are we doing, how are we approaching this, how are we reporting on this? So even still, I'm not really thinking about like, what does this mean? Because like every now and then I'll realize like they may not crown an NBA champion this year. Like that's going to be bonkers.
I don't see it happening.
And so like that night I was not really thinking that way that much about it. Like I was more thinking like, what's the next thing that we can get? What's the next detail that we can get and say on TV?
Because it was still, that's when it, like, not that it's not a big deal, but now it's like, Kevin Durant has it's like, at this point I think we're just going to become everyone's that it's not even going to be a news.
Honestly,
story
it's news that no Thunder player has it. Like, to me, that's like, oh wow, no player had it. Like that's kind of interesting. Like,
yeah. What are your thoughts on there's controversy, and I get it. I mean, I see both sides of it about the Jazz getting all the testing. A lot of people were really mad about that.
Well, this is just my personal opinion, and people can be mad at me, but based on like the reporting I've done and the information that I've been told, like I think it was absolutely the right call to test the Jazz, because you have to play out the scenario here. First of all, it was the Oklahoma State Department of Health that decided it. So the Jazz, it's not like the Jazz were like, demanding it or
Right.
wanted it done. The State Department of Health decided to do it, and they viewed it as, and they kind of compared it to like the cruise ship scenario of
Yeah.
like everybody's been exposed here. They've all been traveling together, eating together, busing together, staying at hotels together. All these people have been highly exposed to this. So you have to play out the options that State Department of Health had and the Jazz had. Basically, if they didn't test them, they were going to have to quarantine the Jazz for 14 days in Oklahoma City. And so, like, what does that look like? Do they literally quarantine them in that locker room?
Right.
Like, do they have to try to somehow transport them somewhere else? They have to provide accommodations. So, like, that's one option that you have to do if you don't test them. The other is that you somehow convince Utah State Department of Health to take them back and say, like, okay, we're going to ship all these people back on a private charter back to you, and then you figure it out. So, like, that scenario just wasn't feasible.
The inconveniencing of the players aspect doesn't bother me that. Like, I'm like, well, screw them. They're normal. Everyone's being inconvenienced by this, but the whole, they travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They've played other teams that travel a lot. You want to know, like, who want,
Right.
that's kind of how you help.
You just have to
fight
think
the
about like
spread
a
to
shoot
degree.
around. I mean, like that guy's sweating on you. I mean, and that happened. Like
One guy from the Pistons caught it
Right.
from Gobert, right?
Well,
Or probably.
he may have caught it from Gobert. It's very likely. But like, I mean, just think about again, like a game, like you touch a basketball. There's a lot of nail biters in the NBA. They touch their mouthpieces. You touch the basketball, you go touch your mouthpiece, you put your hand back on the I mean, so like you have to think about it in that way. Now, I think it's an entirely separate discussion that people could have about should teams be testing non-symptomatic players right now through private labs. Like that's a different discussion. I can understand why people might be mad about that. But when it comes specifically to the decision made on the Jazz, like I don't see how they could have not tested them because they literally had them quarantined in the locker room with blue surgical masks on until those nurses got there from the county department of health.
It's not
to test
funny.
them all.
It's not funny, but it's just.
I mean,
a funny,
it is kind of, I mean, it's
kind
like
of funny visual, right?
It's absolutely a funny
I mean,
visual. We saw Donovan Mitchell and Jordan Clarkson walk out of the locker room after they had been tested, and they were kind of looking for Quinn Snyder, and they had those blue surgical gloves on. And I was like looking at it, I was like, what is going on? Like, I mean, it's just the visuals are pretty funny, I think.
Like I think it's funny talking to everyone about this because the general reaction is, well, it's nothing I've ever seen before or nothing I've ever experienced. It's just crazy out there right now, isn't it? Like, are you, and it's just the general reactions. It's complicated by social media. I think social media is going to be probably good in helping combat its spread.
I think so.
But it's also kind of been, after a while, it just feels like just so like, okay, I get it, but
there's a
okay.
lot of shaming going on about anything.
both ways.
I mean, somebody might shame us for sitting here doing a podcast,
or other people are going to be like, "Sissies, why are we so far apart?" It's
Right.
like just all the difference.
Everybody's. I mean, it's kind of par for the course for social media. Everybody's got a take and an opinion about everything.
I'm aware of this. Yes.
And so, I mean, yes. So when it comes to like specifically the NBA, that's not surprising to me that's kind of happening. But at the same time, like Adam Silver did an interview with Rachel Nichols right before I came, and honestly, he makes a good point of like, first of all, like Rudy Gobert's, Adam Silver didn't say this, but like he's the idiot hero of this whole situation, raising the awareness, basically pushing the panic button on this for the United States of America. United States would be a week behind. They would probably still be playing NBA games right now with infected players had that not happened with Gobert. And then on top of it, like just the NBA like has completely raised awareness. I mean, look at their target demographics. I mean, it's younger people. So, they're trying to desperately get through to younger people. Like they had that doctor, Fauci. He went on like Pardon My Take for crying out loud. Like because of their demographic, they're seriously like, we need to reach these people.
I guess yes, they have him doing a media tour. I've kind of like avoided television news media for a while. It's just so overwhelming. It is interesting. Like we are kind of like not the ground zero of the pandemic, but I think the ground zero of the United States general awareness of
Absolutely. And I find a great irony in it, Patrick, that like I don't know if you felt this way, but going into that game, like Oklahoma kind of felt like this haven for it. Like I think there were two diagnosed cases. They were both in Tulsa, and it was kind of like me personally. I did not have. I mean, I read the news all the time, but like I didn't have this like hyper awareness of like the magnitude of the virus. And so like to me, like for it to like land in that arena that night, it was kind of like. I don't know. It was that juxtaposition was really weird. To me, of like I didn't see it as a huge deal until it happened.
It was something that you would like because I would still go out and socialize and maybe make a little joke about it. Well, I hope I don't get
Everybody,
coronavirus.
I was making him walking into that arena that night.
Yeah, like hope I don't get it.
I was talking with another reporter, like, you want to get the door?
But it's kind of,
I don't want to touch it. Like,
but it's even then, it kind of felt like kind of the everything's okay.
Yeah.
If I make light of it, it won't happen. It happened. But then, the Kevin Stitt tweet caused a lot of controversy, and I say this is like, hey, I'm being honest here. I went out Saturday night.
Yeah.
I mean, I went out, did some stuff. I had some friends going out, and I'm like,
you're not the governor of Oklahoma.
Yeah, but also I wasn't out tweeting about it. That's
you're
the
not
thing.
talking to CDC officials in Oklahoma State Department of Health, getting updates regularly. I mean, I try to be as apolitical as I possibly can, but like that is indefensible.
Yeah, my phone went out at this bar. I went to this new bar in over by the farmer's market. I can't remember the name of it. Real cool, chill place. But we're all sitting in this little booth, and it's not like I felt like uncomfortable, but I'm just the entire time, I almost feel like I'm watching people breathe, and I just feel like the air is polluted, and then it just didn't feel right. I don't know. And I was like, finally, I'm like, I kind of left early. I'm like, I just need to get out of here, go home. I wanted to wash my hands so bad. Like, I wanted to wash them in not a bar bathroom,
Right.
so they'd actually feel clean. And then I get to my car and I charge it and get some juice.
Urine is a pretty good distance.
Yeah. Hey, you never, don't laugh.
We might get to
this
that.
is like the thing.
Hey,
urine works.
You have to pee on your hands. It's like a stingray.
2 months later, you're like, all right, I need more water so I can wash my hands.
Somebody come pee on my hands.
But I get on my phone. It's like literally, it's like when a governor does something stupid in Oklahoma, I'm your man.
Yeah.
And like,
everybody says Patrick's.
It's kind of like when there's a thunder trade. You probably get a lot of text mines when the governor of Oklahoma does something stupid. And I know you're probably like, I know, I'm aware. It's either that or my phone's been dead for 3 hours and it gets annoying. But I thought people were too hard on him for going out. Like, I don't know. It was just even that Saturday night. It felt to me like a last.
I got no problem with him necessarily going out, but I think just like the messaging that he put out, like it's packed.
It's fine. I'm packed at the Collective, folks. Oklahoma strong.
And to me, again, I think that I don't want to be too critical of politicians because that's not my lane.
All opinions are mine.
Right.
Anything.
But
I have a gun and I'm forced to say these controversial things.
But like, I do think that like. It just kind of speaks to like the naive nature of everybody, even still to that point where they were so concerned with like local economy and that was like the concern because that was clearly the motivation behind something like that. I
mean, I was once again guilty. Hey, maybe it was,
I don't think it's a big deal for anybody. I mean, 18,000 people went to a Thunder game on Wednesday night. Like it's not.
I felt even icky after that. I went to because we just stuck around here in Bricktown. We went to the bar. I think it's Captain Ron's. And one of the bartenders there was the bartender in the suite, or in the suite level, that little lower level for the Loves family or whatever. I think he's their personal bartender. I'm joking, but probably. But he was like, flipping out a little bit. He's like, I don't know, these players. I mean, they were, I'm the fans I serve are right next to these players. I'm
a lot of people freaked out. I mean,
and then now every bartender in Oklahoma is flipping out because now
nobody's coming to their bars.
Yeah, I mean
that impact is real, and I mean you walk around here, you just walking around downtown. Not that a Wednesday night is like a pop-in time in downtown Oklahoma City, but like even still, I mean it's bizarre how like you go out and there's just like it's kind of it's a little apocalyptic.
Right now we're almost at the point where they're closing everything down and people are going to be stuck indoors quite a bit. So, Randy, if you're at home alone and you're under quarantine with your loved one, where'd be a good place to go?
To the bed.
To Patricia's. Randy, can we hear an ad from our favorite sponsor? Always remember, we couldn't do the Lost Ogle without the help of our generous sponsors. This includes Patricia's. Whether you need lube or a dildo, with 7 locations across the state, there's always a Patricia's nearby to satisfy your needs. It doesn't matter if you're a bridesmaid looking for a penis candle, or Lewis looking for vintage Asian erotica. Patricia's is Oklahoma's premier adult boutique. Find one near you today at patriciasgiftshop.com and tell them Clark Matthews sent you. Yeah, so once this thing, and what you're talking to, so we do bar trivia nights, so we do 8 of those a week, and those are just
gone.
Yeah, how are those going?
Yeah, I mean, those are like, and so, I mean, it not only affects, and then our other advertisers, we do a lot of advertising with, bars and restaurants. We advertise a lot of events, lots of like, museums, culture type stuff that people, and all that. I mean, I don't know. Where's that going?
You need to get on for
those
a podcast
casinos,
guest.
those casinos, they're all kind of.
You need to get Tim Sin from the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, right. I do
That
need to
guy's
get
awesome.
that guy on. Yeah, I tweet him. I'm like, only if he calls it the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
None of this Oklahoma Western Heritage Museum.
Wait, is that what it's called now?
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
yeah. I'm like, only I will participate in this social media contrived feel good thing. That I'm all about it. Kind of like when
Somebody
Top
did
Dog
tell me he's a
came
real
back.
person, though.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it's kind of like when Top Dog came back, it was fun for about a week, and then it's like, then we watch college basketball again, and we're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Well,
It was a little too
canceled,
it was a
huh?
little too polished. I kind of got wrapped up in it because I was like, this is so funny. I love this guy. And it was like, it's a little too polished. Off the rails. What were you saying about bars?
I was just complaining about losing 80% of our income.
Oh, yeah.
But
Valid complaint.
I think we're going to launch a membership program very, 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 very soon.
Ooh.
Join the membership club.
Online trivia?
Just at Lost Ogle in general. If you sign up, we're going to start a little membership thing.
Ogle Plus?
Try to do, yeah. It's going to. I think the Ogle.
Do I get to
Bowl-
watch Frozen too early?
No, you don't. I actually like that Ogle Plus.
Yeah.
That's good. Because I was thinking Ogle Bowl membership club, but Ogle Plus has a nice. You can join the Ogle Plus club today.
Yeah, and it
For
cribs,
Royce, for $5 a month, you can have pretty much a Lost Ogle link pin mailed to you.
You ought to do a
That's
bundle
beautiful
package with the old friends at Daily Thunder do an exclusive membership package. You ought to do a bundle.
Ooh, I need to talk to them. I wonder who they use. Man, I may email them tonight. Remember when you emailed me, like, that way back when?
Probably.
I'm going to email them like, hi, my name's Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I'm a local blogger.
I'm trying to start a website that gets memberships. May I ask what software you use?
Are you Mr. Hanky?
I don't know. That's my 19-year-old Royce impersonation.
Pretty very accurate. Very accurate.
I picture you wearing a suit when you wrote that email.
Yeah.
I'm
Way
like,
too
"Man,
big
this
for
guy-"
me.
Yeah.
Like elbow pads on it.
So support I don't know how people support bars and restaurants. Think of your bar and
seriously,
bar and restaurant workers. I mean, this thing is just. I know people focus on the health impact, right? But I mean,
the economic impact for local places is real.
Yeah, it is like banks and airlines. They're all getting bailouts, but I know the Trivia Guild is really going to fight hard in Capitol Hill. But I mean, what do we do? And then when it opens back up, it's not going to be like, well, pandemic's cleared, everyone go back out.
Right.
I mean, I read the same report that what report were we talking about offline?
Imperial College.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying this kind of is going to be a cycle thing for
an 18-month ordeal.
Yeah, so it's going to be a rough 18 months.
It's going to be a new normal that I think a lot of people are going to have to kind of wrap their minds around. But like my wife and I were having this conversation last night, and like we were guilty of kind of like staying in and like as you should, but like we realized like let's get pizza from the Halls tonight. Let's call it like the Halls is our favorite pizza place. Like let's call it in, go get some. And like we got Charleston's carry out tonight. Like some places that like
potato soup.
No, I went with the chicken club salad. That's my go-to.
Oh, that's a good one.
But like we kind of, I mean, we're not going to do it every single night. And like, I'm not trying to say I'm some great Samaritan here, but like I don't typically tip the person that brings it out to me. What is like the agreed social decision on that? You tip the person that brings it out to you, or you not?
Like
I
if you do the
don't.
curbside pickup,
Yeah.
I would say it's a 10%.
Because I mean, literally, they're just carrying a sack out to you.
Yeah, but it's part of the.
I mean, it's part of the convenience, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, they're risking their life to.
That is true. But in this case, I overtipped because I was like,
it's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
I'm going to give you $3 today.
I'm not going to stiff you on this because, like, it's not just like the restaurant owners. It's like the people that I don't have any customers to serve.
Do you tip like when you like stay in a hotel, or do you like?
I've never done that before. But then again, at the moment I walk in a hotel, I put the do not disturb thing on my door.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm there for a week. Nobody's touching my room.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's about I get to sleep in a made bed about maybe 5 to 10 times a year, and
I don't like
that's usually
I don't
usually
want
when I
it.
stay
I
at a
don't want
hotel.
it.
So yeah, all those they're just being wrecked. I don't know. Grocery stores, they're doing good. Have you been out to the
I need to go, actually.
Have you been out? Do you get that same feeling? It's like it kind of reminds me of those severe weather days where they're like, it's a PDS 5 weather event. dangerous tornadoes are going to carve their way through Oklahoma. And you're like, oh, shit. You know, it's like you're watching TV and it's like they start at 2:00 and, the cap's forming and, Val's in Weatherford. And then by 5:30, it's like, you're just, I feel this pandemic's like that same kind of cloud, but it's like, it doesn't, it's like, there's nothing beautiful the next day.
There's no relief at any point. We are very low on the TP front right now.
How much you have?
3 rolls. We're down to 3 rolls.
Dude, you're like here in Oklahoma City, what, you're middle tier or are you top tier celebrity? What do you think?
I would say probably
you're pretty
low to mid.
Yeah, I would say mid. I bet you get recognized. Like, I bet, like, probably like when you got your Charlton's, so like, I think that ESPN guy was that he only tipped me $3 or something like that. Or
that's all he had, huh?
That would, you never know. That would
send TP my way.
But you'll be good because you'll be able to like to send out a little tweet saying, "Oh man, it's been a rough,
we are
covering all this."
I haven't had a chance to get toilet paper.
You could get a test. Have you been tested?
No, I haven't.
You could.
I wouldn't say that it was offered to me, but it was suggested that maybe I should try to get one. Just like at that time, there was kind of a lot of panic about what was going on, so they thought like maybe it'd be a good idea if I went on TV and said I got tested, I'm negative. But like, I saw no reason to. First of all, I was not exposed to either Gobert or Donovan Mitchell. I was experiencing no symptoms, no fever, no anything. And so I saw it basically like I don't fit the criteria. I'm non-symptomatic. I'd be wasting a test just to get it done, and there's no reason to do that for me.
My favorite kind of no shit story from all this is word has it Donovan Mitchell's kind of mad at Rudy Gobert. I'm like, well, no shit. I mean, I'd be pretty pissed off too if he was sick and he was like what like. Is he the most hated man in the NBA beat reporter scene after what he did to the microphones?
I mean, I think so. Although a lot of the Jazz reporters kind of defended him for it. Now, there were some that night that were a little bit anxious over like him touching the whole recorders and microphones. But then like the more you learn about it, like that was a low contact, low exposure thing. Like you're not going to catch a virus from somebody just literally touching your phone with a finger. Like that's just not going to happen. So like,
plus he's how old is he? What, 25, 27?
And it was immature. It was irresponsible. Yeah. He acknowledged that. But like everybody's got this like visual of Gobert doing that. And that was like so
it's
insignificant.
It's an interesting visual because when you have this like giant slender man or whatever, like, he touches all the microphones with like,
it's just,
two fingers.
It's amazing to me. Like I told you earlier, like, because early in this whole like process, I thought that like he had contaminated himself and the league was, and so like, that's all I think about is like, man, I was so naive to think that that's what it was going to be. Like nobody thought Rudy Gobert has the coronavirus. Like that just seemed impossible to believe. So.
It's just, once again, we saw it. It's not like this is like new. Like we started seeing the headlines creep up like beginning of the year.
Like, I mean, like owners
it'll be fine.
That's how everybody was way naive on it throughout the whole thing. And like, I mean, the owners had like, that board of governors call, and there was multiple owners on there that were like, you guys are sitting here assuming that a player doesn't have it. Like they were like, some of them were pretty aware of what was going on. So I'm like, I guarantee a player's got it already. And but the NBA was, I don't want to say the NBA was naive to it, but the example I just keep giving is that Rudy Gobert they were awaiting results on his coronavirus test, and he was still questionable for the game. Like, so, in the Jazz's mind, they were going to hustle him over from 21C and put him back in the starting lineup if that test had come back negative. And that just seems ridiculous in hindsight.
So the fall, and the day after, I think the game. Yeah, was it the day after? Their Oklahoma Contemporary had their really big opening celebration plan. Big deal that they've spent like a year planning the finer details. Guess where they had all their staff and everyone staying?
Was that the 21C?
Well, probably, maybe. But like at this point, I think it's like even like a week ago, that'd be a big deal. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was at a hotel where now it's kind of like, from all I'm sure every one of us have read hundreds of news stories now, but there's some you see that's like, this thing's been probably going around. Like, it's they're not the reason we don't have more cases is nobody's testing.
Right.
So it's pretty hard to avoid. I appreciate the people who are still in quarantine and taking this seriously. I mean, if I found out somebody I knew had it, I mean, I'll be like, see ya.
We have a Carrie, my wife Carrie, has some good friends of ours.
Quality dodgeball player, by the way.
Yeah, she is excellent. It's really her friend, but I've become friends with them too. But like they live in Crested Butte, Colorado, and that area has been actually hit pretty hard because of spring break and everything like that. And we're not totally sure, but like we think that Carrie's friend's husband has it. And like, just because he's got all the symptoms for it, but he's like 34-year-old rock climber. He's in great physical condition. Like, he's really not at risk here. And like, there's like no reason for him to go get tested, you know, like he's just going to quarantine.
That's what they're saying.
He's going to get over the virus. And like, you know, there may come a point where I don't know the science behind like, okay, am I good to go now? You know, like, am I, at what point are you no longer contagious?
14 days.
You know, that's what they say.
That's
right?
Bold prediction. I think pretty much by the time this is all said and done, I think all of us will at least have had one test.
That's probably true.
Whether it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 days, it could be 6 to 8 months from now.
I mean, that's what everybody's thinking about this in, like, because they said something about peak critical mass is like 2 to 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has this perception that, like, oh, it'll be over then.
Yeah. No.
Like, you know, no, it's not.
A slow. You kind of slowly ease back out, and then it comes back.
Right.
And then you have to run and get in hiding again.
Because there's no vaccine yet.
Yeah.
And
you kind of have to do that. Just prevent it from getting everyone. You can kind of ease back out, and it'll just come back. It'll flare back up again. Right. And then you have to get the vaccine, and that's the fire extinguisher that you just kind of
that ends it essentially.
And then but that's going to be
18 months away.
And hey, know what we have in between now and then? A presidential election. There's going to be so much shit going on with all that. And so, like, the vaccine, I already had some people I'm not taking the vaccine. Oh, it's going to be like, you know, the whole conspiracy, alt whatever, you know.
They're going to be anti-coronavirus vaccines.
But you know what? They say, I'm like, I don't know. That kind of makes sense. Like,
New vaccine.
It depends on who's the president if I take the vaccine. And I think they're kind of thinking the same thing. Well, if Trump's the president, I'll take the vaccine. But if Joe Biden is, no, it's a mind control. And I'm like the opposite. I'm like, well, if Trump's the president, it could be a Russian type, cancer causing drug. Right. Who knows?
Only targets liberals.
So I guess I do get that. I get kind of conspiratorial about this. Do you?
I really don't, honestly. I think that, like, I think you can kind of take it for what it is. I think that there are certain people that are trying to capitalize on it. You know, I mean, I think that's absolutely.
I need to start. Let's start a website. Daily. Corona-spiracy. Corona-spiracy? That's not
your daily Rona.
Can I coin that term if it hasn't been already? Corona-spiracies? Because that's going to be that'll be a good media buzzword like it for the next decade. Oh, this thing's going to live on forever.
I saw a Facebook post that, like, one of my, like, second cousins shared about, like, it was one of these, I'm just saying that, like, Trump was headed to re-election and the Democrats were going to nominate a weak candidate. I'm just saying that this virus came out of nowhere. Like, okay.
You're like, all right. Yeah. There was one guy on a thread, and he was like doing like, "No, this is going to be the worst ever. There's going to be plagues. Humanity's going to fall. I'm stocked up." He was like going on this rant, like everyone makes fun of me for, like, I guess
I'm going to be the smart
for having a pallet of green beans or whatever. I'm like, yeah. I mean, so talking to my best friend, and he's like texting me. He's like, "You good? You stocked up?" I'm like, "Yeah, went to Sam's. I have a decent supply." And then he's like, "Do you have a gun?" And I'm like. Well, yeah,
this escalated quickly.
But I think a better question would be like, do you have a respirator? Because I think that's what we're going to need more of. And I don't think it's going to be. I think that's what you'll need the gun to go get. Maybe
you just put, like, the barrel over your mouth, and, like, you just crank the chamber, and it's a respirator.
Yeah, but he was like, yeah, but man, food, all that food's going to be gone. And I'm like, yeah. You ever heard of the cruise line industry? You ever heard of the restaurant industry? You ever heard of the casino industry, the catering industry? All these industries have just been wrecked. Like, we have more food than we know what to do with. Right. I mean, it's a supply chain issue. But for the foreseeable future, trust me, like, there's this is the best time in the world if you like guacamole, because I read a story where I think 30% of all avocado purchases are by cruise lines.
Yeah.
They're not buying a lot of avocados right now. So there's a, like, oversupply of, so if you're one of those food people, you're just being silly.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things to worry about.
Okay.
Like, if there's going to be an NBA Finals.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried
That's
about.
what I want to talk about next. Hey, what Anthem beer are you drinking?
Golden One.
Golden One.
It's my number one.
I'm drinking OK Pills. Mile High, are you doing a Rad Hombre over there? Golden One as well.
That's my number one.
The Anthem Tap Room, I believe, once again, but this... everything we talked about may be irrelevant tomorrow. That's
I was about to say it's a good place to watch a Thunder game, but, like,
not now. But
that's not the case.
Anthem is available in most grocery stores. It's available at most gas stations. So if you have to get out and about, wash your hands, put on your gloves, put the little mask on, and if you see an Anthem beer, you should pick it up during Pandemic 2020. So, that's a good. Our ads are relevant on the Lost Ogle. Yeah. Knock on wood. Hopefully, the 3 guys in here do not die of coronavirus someday. That'd be a terrible thing. And once again, we make light of these subjects. But, or at least I am. Royce is not because he's professional.
This podcast would not age well.
Right. So, this will be like on Shacking a Fool or whatever. These guys are dead. Waka waka now. So let's talk NBA. Once again, probably the craziest 2020. And I'm just going off the assumption that it's done. I know even if they try to do some weird little, NBA finals in August, I mean, this season's over with, I think.
I mean, I don't know what's going to end up happening with it. I still am operating under the belief that they will restart the season. But again, that might be me being naive. The more you kind of understand about how a quarantine and flattening the curve and all those types of things are going to play out, I'm getting a little more pessimistic about it than I maybe was a couple days ago. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of money at stake.
You read that paper.
Yes.
We've talked about it, and it seemed pretty legit. I just can't see because another player's going to get it.
I think
until there's a vaccine,
and I mean, to me, like when I think about it in terms of like June, it's a long ways away. Like let's think about how it's March. Like June there's a lot of time that's going to pass between now and then, and a lot of things are going to happen. I mean, just think how rapidly people keep saying, "Can you believe it was just a week ago?" Like think about what a week from now is going to look like. So like I think a lot of things.
No,
which way are we talking here? So I think there's a lot of time that's going to pass between like getting to that conversation, and so like if there's an infrastructure in place about like where testing is easily available, it's not this scarce resource. And you could kind of like build like an infrastructure where you kind of have the players in almost like a cocoon type thing where it's like we're playing the league here and everybody's kind of balancing it. Now that's going to require buy-in, and there's a lot of
even if it happens, me as a fan, I'm not buying it. I'm discounting it. This season, hey, it sucks for everyone.
You know what sucks bad for is the Thunder. I mean, like not to go woe is me on the Thunder.
I disagree. I think it ended like, hey, you know what? We wanted to look what we did. We lost Durant. We lost all these bad, and we still at the end.
That's true.
All this, and hey, this thing's not going to last forever. We're set up pretty well for the future. This was like, I think this in a strange way, in an admitted way. Hell, I mean,
look at you being the optimist and being the pessimist.
Or the other option would be I'm getting all hyped, kind of like Brooklyn last year. Remember Brooklyn? They didn't really have any superstars. They had this good, hardworking team, and they exceeded expectations. Made the playoffs as what, like a
7 seed,
and then they got swept.
Yeah,
right by. So we would probably play the Clippers and get just swept.
That's
and
true.
Then you'd ended on kind of like, oh well, shucks, man. At least we had a good regular.
But
now
if the Thunder beat the
that.
Jazz Wednesday night, they were the 4 seed.
Yeah, I've watched enough basketball in this town to know to never get my hopes up too much.
The second best record in the West from Thanksgiving on.
I agree with John.
You watched a lot of Russell Westbrook basketball though, and there's reason not to get your hopes up under Russell.
I think they would be exposed in a playoff series. I think they're a better regular season team than they are probably a playoff series team.
There's 2 teams that I would have picked to beat them in 5 games, and that's the Lakers and Clippers, no doubt about it. I think that they could have beat any other team in the West in the playoff series. Were they going to win the NBA title? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Were they going to go?
Are you an analytics guy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So in the standings, they were what? They would have been if they beat the Jazz.
They would have moved to 4th.
But point differential, they still would have been 7th or 8th, right? And that's like usually a pretty good barometer
they would have been,
about what the team is.
I think they actually would have been 6th because I think the Rockets' point differential may have flipped with them. But
the Rockets are weird. They're just kind of they're like, fuck it, let's trade.
And also like the Thunder's point differdifferential got totally tanked when they got destroyed by the Bucks.
That's true.
Like they were almost at a 4.
Every team has that weird. But I get what you're saying. Like I acknowledge all your. I think they're very accurate. But I'm like I just don't think they would have. I don't think they would have done well in a series.
I get what you're saying because now at this point they can kind of go out like as winners almost in a way and be like you can have a what if like mentality. You didn't have to watch them lose that playoff series where you're like, oh, they just weren't good enough. Because I mean, look, there was like a 5% chance they were going to go to the Western Conference Finals. Like it was going to require some like super good luck for that to happen. They're a good team. I really do think they're a good team. And I would have liked to seen them win 50 games. And that would have been awesome. That was like a mark to hit that they haven't done since Kevin Durant was part of the team. It would have been cool to just see how good they are in a playoff series. I mean, plus playoff basketball is super fun to watch. So like to me, that's disappointing. And plus, kind of knowing like this might be it for this group. Like the teardown rebuild thing might be coming next. So like,
I don't buy it. I don't buy the rebuild. I don't think it's ever. Everyone before when all these trades and everything happened, everyone was like, "Oh, the rebuild is coming. They're tearing it down," And I was like, "I don't. Why would Presti always seem to be like against that?" Right.
Right. Well, I mean, he's done it once before. I mean, that's essentially he created the process before the process. Existed
before, like 2011 years ago.
Right.
And they have so many draft picks. I just don't see.
But they don't. But the draft picks that are the most valuable are the ones that they like are their draft picks.
Maybe
because you control that. So like,
I see what you're saying.
I'm pretty sure that. Like when that was going to come, and look, they can't go into tank rebuild mode until Chris Paul's no longer on the team. So like whether that's his contract running out and expiring in 2 years, or whether they can find some team to take him in a trade, like that's going to be what triggers the rebuild. But until that point, they're going to keep being
I bet
a decent
Chris
team.
Paul's contract will be very valuable at the next trade date when he has like 1 year when it's like about to expire.
You can just rent him for a year.
Yeah, everyone would be like, "Oh, yeah, it's a 1 year to expiring contract." Like from following the NBA closely since the Hornets got here,
it is $44 million though.
It does, but
it's a big.
And
number.
I know you're right. This pandemic's going to mess with revenues and the salary cap.
That's true.
But
It might be $38 million.
Every bad contract that the Thunder
Chris Paul.
signs by the end seems like Ennis Canner. Oh my God, they're paying him $18 million a year. Reggie Jack,
turned out to be a bargain.
Yeah, and at the end you're like, okay, we can flip. It seems like every NBA contract that's bad at the beginning kind of works out at the end because then teams know they just have that cap space, not to get too much into that stuff.
This is what you're listening.
But you actually think they're going to come back. The
I still think the NBA is going to come back. I would say it's more likely they do than not. I think it'll come back in a weird state. I could totally see them playing games in practice facilities. Maybe they might play games and like sequester it in 2 or 3 different cities where all teams basically play, like take their turns, like a high school tournament or something, and they all play their games.
I hope they don't do that.
I mean, I think but there's just too much revenue and money at stake because you're talking about if you don't check some boxes, if they don't get to 70 regular season games, they don't fulfill the contracts with their local providers, and like the salary cap is going to drop from 115 million to like 100. I mean, it could drop $15 million.
They'll have to make some special. They'll have to do what everyone does, and I think.
And the players are incentivized to come back too.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you talk about, this is way too in the weeds stuff, but like the BRI and like basketball related income, like in the way that like there's basically like an escrow account where they hold money back from the players unless that the owners get paid out their 50%, and like so owners aren't going to hit their 50% BRI right now because there hasn't been enough games played. So players aren't going to get their full salary. I mean, there's a lot of little things that are going to like add up to where everybody's going to say we are very incentivized to get back out.
And it's just going to. You think it'll just start the playoffs? So if it started today, who would the Thunder play? If they
the Jazz 4-5 matchup.
Okay,
but I think that they'll play 4 or 5 regular season games. 1 to try to get to that 70 game threshold, and then 2, I think they'll approach it like preseason. Like you can't just have first game back be game 1 of the playoffs. I think that you want to give players some sort of like reactivation.
Yeah, you have to get about Yeah, if that happens, I guess it is a bad thing for the Thunder. But in my mind, the season was
here's if you want like a good optimistic viewpoint, and this is just my personal belief. If the NBA comes back and they play the NBA Finals in August, which would most likely happen, it could restructure the calendar of the NBA season forever, which I'm a big fan of. I think that the NBA ought to run December to July or December to August, and that way the 3 major professional sports each get their kind of window.
Yeah.
Football gets their window, baseball gets theirs, basketball gets theirs. There's less overlap between the 3 sports, and so like because the NBA would basically have 2 options. They would either have to start the following season in December because you can't just like end in August, start in October. Like that's not reasonable because you have to do the NBA draft, you have to do free agency. I mean, there's things that you have to hit. So they'd have to start the next season in December. So you either do like a shortened season, playing back-to-back-to-backs again to try to get it done with, or you just push everything down the line and say now we're December to August. And
I read that article. It would be a weird just kind of change.
It would be a big change.
I mean, the
NBA's always started in October.
I'm the same. Like, it's kind of,
I'm a fan of
cold
it,
winter nights. I mean,
nobody cares about the NBA in October, November.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's still football's on the mind. Yeah, push it back to start around December. Around
Kick
Christmas.
The season off right at Christmas. That's like your marquee debut.
College
games.
basketball is more and more. Thank God I really didn't lose any sleep over March Madness. Did you?
I'm surprised. Maybe it's because I was so wrapped up in like the story and everything. And when that happened, I was literally about to do a Sports Center hit. I'm like standing there, and like they pushed me down because like, hey, March Madness just got canceled. I was like, and I guess I was just kind of numbed to like the big news drop because like you tell me 5 years ago, 3 years ago, March Madness is getting canceled. I'm like running through a window or something like. But I was kind of like, oh yeah, figures. It's just like what's next. It's like I think they just announced like OU's spring game is canceled. Like, yeah, you guys are a little late on that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like any event that requires coordination and requires a lot of planning. I mean, through the end of May, I think I was going to say if everything.
If you have an event scheduled at the most optimistic May 1st, like it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like,
strange times we live in. Thunder, which player, once again, Patrick operating on the assumption that everything's done and the 2019-2020 season is officially over. Which player currently on the Thunder this year will not be on the roster next year? Like out of not excluding the guys who are going to be gone either way. Or
so you're saying like Gallinari? Like Gallinari's not.
Gallinari. Like or maybe surprise. I
don't think Dennis Schroeder will be on the team next year.
You think they're going to trade him?
I think Dennis Schroeder will be somewhere else. His trade value is immensely high right now.
Because that bad contract that he had is now suddenly
it's good, and he's going to be. I mean, that's it. We'll see what they do with the awards, but he was going to win Sixth Man of the Year.
You think he was?
Yeah, he was going to win it. I think he was far and away. I mean, the other candidates were the two Clippers guys, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams. Goran Dragic was a candidate for it. But I think Schroeder was kind of running away with it at this point. So, like, his trade value is really high. I'll be curious to see what happens to Steven Adams. I don't know. I can see him being on the team next year. He's going to be an expiring deal. I think he'll be a hot name that teams are after often. I mean, teams called about him at this trade deadline nonstop. They were trying to lowball the Thunder and pull him away.
Why is that? Like, because everything I read, they're like, hey, Sinners are like they're the new running back.
Right.
You can, I guess you can get a really good one. You pay a lot for them, but outside of that, you have about 200 guys that can all do the same job.
I think that mindset was a little last year because, like, I think that people view it like the Warriors kind of redefined that position, but they did it in such a unique way with, like, they had a player.
That's a pretty good player.
Draymond Green that was playing that position. So, like, the Rockets have gone all in with small ball. Look, we may not get to find out, like, whether or not that was going to work or not.
It was kind of struggling at the end, right?
And it was extreme circumstances in which they did it. Size still rules the day in the NBA. I mean, like, you just have players that are just more versatile. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a center 20 years ago. And so he's just playing a different position than you otherwise would.
What pick was he?
15th
pick. Mm-hmm. So you can still, even the Thunder, even if they control their own, even that's their best pick.
So people say that. So like
Rudy Gobert, he was what the
So Kawhi Leonard was the 15th pick.
Yeah,
Giannis was the 15th pick, and so like people
Paul
like
George
to say that
9 pick.
Say, he was in there. People make those points, and if you go look at like the history of like the draft picks and like the likelihood that they'll make an All-Star team and an All-NBA team, it reduces the analytically speaking, they go down considerably. But people will often point out Giannis and Kawhi Leonard. But, like, they're the two players, that got drafted 15th. So, like, there's a lot of other 15th overall guys that were not any good.
It is, the draft is kind of like, throwing darts.
Right.
Especially in a weak draft, like this one coming up. Like, you have the drafts where you have, like, Blake Griffin, right?
Right.
Universal number one or Zion
but see,
or Zion, whatever.
Here's the thing. Is
but
that, like,
other drafts, a lot of it's, for every Anthony, you also have your Anthony Bennett's or your Greg Odens,
But the thing is you're saying you're throwing darts, but like, so like imagine if this dart you have is a magic dart though that has a 25% chance for that guy to be an All-NBA player. But now you hand me another dart and that's only got a 6% chance. And this dart's only got, and so like this dart's only got a 3% chance of hitting the bullseye. Like that's what those darts are weighted.
The Thunder have a lot of darts though.
They're going to have a lot of darts.
So that's why I'm like,
it just depends on how much of percentage chance each dart holds.
That's man. Are we getting into math? No, I don't know about this.
This is super interesting.
Yeah, I think
coronavirus.
Pandemic. What are we going to do? So what are you going to do now? Like what are your kind of plans? Like
I'm thinking golf is still on the table, right?
You can do it's outdoors. You can wear your little mask. Do you have any mask?
I don't have any masks.
No, you need to get a good mask. Like the people at the grocery store.
Can I wear
They're kind of the badasses of the grocery store?
Can I wear like one of my son's like Iron Man masks or Black Panther masks?
I don't think that works. I don't know if that's HIPAA. No, HP. I don't know what's the HP. What is it? Randy, what's the filter rating? I don't know. You know when you like buy your air filters, like they have the little numbers. like Mask, I think, are the same thing. You want to get one of the real high numbers, and it just filters it all out.
No, it is a weird time for us. Like, there's no sports, but like, there's plenty of reporting to do now about what's currently. So, like, the news cycle is still like churning really hard for us. And so, like, I've been on the phone texting. I mean, like, there's been a lot of work been going on the last 4 or 5 days still. 2 weeks from now, I don't know, we're going to be kind of scraping at the bottom of the barrel and maybe be going like, okay, let's, top 6 Chris Paul dribbles.
So like that one where he nutmegged the guy. And then he was like, oh, man, I kind of miss those guys. Thunder was so frustrating to watch. And now it was actually kind of like appointment viewing. Ooh, the Thunder on. I'm going to actually watch it tonight. And actually watch it. A lot of times the past few years, I just come and have it on, but
like, are they losing now?
Yeah, it's like, okay. Doesn't matter till the last 5 minutes anyway. But either way, so that sucks, but hey, I hope you're able to like find stuff to do and
thanks. Well, I found something to do tonight.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we're going to try to do this Marisa thing. That experiment didn't work. Like, we're eventually going to get it to where I think we can maybe just do some live. We can phone in and do things. So
like a real podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, let's prank call. We'll try to prank call you like Jim and Al prank called Dean Blevins.
Yeah,
I'm bringing it all around here.
Well, you do like one of those like soundboard ones. I used to do those when I was in college. Like,
I did
it was
those.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Did you really?
Yeah, you like.
I did that in college too.
You did like, you'd call somebody and you'd have a little soundboard thing and you'd put on speakerphone next to it.
Yeah, I would do Sling Blade and I would do Mr. Rogers. Like, you call the Waffle House with the Sling Blade, and it's like, you got any biscuits for sale in there?
Who is your daddy, and what does he do? Like, we'd always hit that button over and over
The Bible
again.
says.
Okay, well, yeah, we're gonna go make some prank phone calls. Where can people find you on social? What's your ESPN? Do you have a sign off on your ESPN stuff that you could use?
Sign off?
Is there a sign off?
Like, what am I, like Tom Rinaldi?
Yeah, right.
Royce Young, ESPN.
I think, I'm gonna have to steal that. It's Royce _ no, it's Royce. Just Royce
at
Young.
Royce Young, just at Royce Young.
And you're an early adopter. Thanks again for coming on. You're in the Second Timers Club. Third appearance, we will give you a case of Anthem beer.
Or maybe
as a personal gift from me to you.
Can I get an HP mask? Maybe just an HP mask.
Well, if we make it to 3. Randy, thanks for braving the virus bug out there and coming in. Marisa, thanks for calling in. Patrick, you did a great job again tonight.
Thanks, Patrick.
I like everything you do. Bricktown Rob, get well, my friend. It's been I know that little cough, and I know the blood is frightening, but don't worry about it. It'll go away soon. Thanks for listening to the Lost Ogle Show.